Move over, Universal. Somebody is getting the classic Universal monsters right, and it's none other than Universal? Let's get started. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Thumb Together. My name is Andrew Fantasia, and today we're going to be talking about The Invisible Man together. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and give some love to that subscribe button as well. Otherwise, you won't see me anymore. I'll look like this. That would suck, right? Or would it? When it comes to the classic Universal monsters, there are some of the films that I don't really care for and some that I think are just awesome. One of the awesome ones is the original Invisible Man. It's great, and it's probably, in my opinion, the scariest of those old movies. He was a scary villain. How do you stop a guy you can't see? He did a lot of damage before they managed to finally take him down. The Invisible Man was nothing to sneeze at, folks. He was a threat. Now, I was one of those people who was so excited for Dark Universe. I loved the idea of turning the Universal monsters into this big, epic action crossover event, and we could have all this cross-pollination. I was so on board for that, but then they had to get people who didn't know what they were doing and write a shitty movie. And we ended up with The Mummy. Thanks for that. So maybe I'm never going to get that dream come true. Maybe I'm never going to get to see that come to fruition. But Universal did not stick their head in the sand after that. They went on and they made The Invisible Man. Now initially, as part of Dark Universe, Invisible Man was going to star Johnny Depp. It was going to be this whole different animal. And in hindsight, I'm so glad that that didn't pan out. Because this version of The Invisible Man is freaking excellent. And I mean, this poster just says it all right there. This is Elisabeth Moss's movie. She leads this whole thing from start to finish. There's barely a frame that she is not in, and she rocks it. It's all about her paranoia because she knows she's being stalked by this man she used to date who was physically, mentally, and verbally abusive. He was just an awful, awful human being, but he also happened to be a genius in the field of optics, so she's like, he found a way. He found a way to be invisible. Meanwhile, he has faked his death, so everybody else in the world thinks, oh, this guy's dead. What are you talking about, Elisabeth Moss? You crazy girl. Let's lock her up. Lock her up in the crazy house. So she's constantly trying to prove that she's not crazy, that this man is after her, and everybody is just worried for her because she is huddled in the corner with a knife saying, there's somebody in the room, there's somebody in the room. You don't get more bone-chilling than this. On top of all that, they did not change the essence of Griffin's character from the original film. The Claude Rains character, the Invisible Man, was an asshole. He was just a horrible man. There's not a shred of good in that man's body. So then along comes this 2020 version, and I'm like, okay, how are they going to make this guy sympathetic? Because that's usually what they end up doing. But what I liked was they didn't make him sympathetic. The Invisible Man in this film is as downright evil and sinister as he was in the original. Yes, it starts off looking like he's just being a creepo and stalking her and psychologically tormenting her, but he doesn't stop there. No, nothing's off the table. He will hurt people, and he does not care how old or incredibly young those people might be. Even the design of the invisible suit itself is really neat. In the original movie, it was a mixture of potions that the guy made that turned him invisible, but I really like what they did here, where he's essentially designed a skin-tight black bodysuit covered in cameras, which then project an image outward and essentially hide the fact that there is a human being standing there. It just looks awesome, and I can't explain it because guess what? I'm not a friggin' scientist. I don't know how this works. But when you see the suit for the first time, you're like, oh, I get it. I get how he did this. And it just looks cool to boot. Like, I want an action figure of this. But the true beauty shines here with Elisabeth Moss and the performance that she gives. This is a woman who was tormented by this man when she was with him and is now somehow even more tormented now that he is apparently dead. It works as both a sci-fi horror, as Universal originally intended, but also as a psychological thriller about the dangers of abuse and what it can do to a person's mind. Even the people closest to Elisabeth Moss think that she's crazy, and the fact that this man can turn her own allies against her in that way, that's the most dangerous tool in his arsenal. And the scary part about it is, you don't need sci-fi wizardry to make that happen. That is something that happens in the real world probably every single day to women and men, just like her character Cecilia, who are trapped in abusive relationships. Lives are ruined, self-confidence is shattered, people are never the same after traumatic events like this. And the trauma just keeps building in The Invisible Man, like layers on a delicious but unfortunate chocolate cake. And when you finally get to the top of this cake, you're like, how the hell is this going to end? And then it ends in a really, really interesting way that I'm not going to spoil here, because The Invisible Man is full of some twists and turns that I think help move the story along in the right direction and drag you by the nose properly. And if you knew them ahead of time, you're not going to get the same experience. But straight up, guys, I loved this movie. I loved The Invisible Man so much. It is Hitchcockian levels of good. Yes, this is worthy to go up there with Vertigo and Rear Window as a Hitchcock-level thriller. If Universal wants to go this route with their monsters, I'm okay with that. Granted, The Invisible Man is their most gritty, grounded monster, so it makes sense that it would work easily with this. I don't know exactly how you're going to make Dracula into something of this caliber, but I'm just saying this is pretty good considering how disappointed I was we missed out on the Dark Universe. I'm very happy with this alternative. Anyway, that has been The Invisible Man. I've been Andrew Fantasia. You have been pretty damn sexy. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you here next time, and until then, adios.